Did God forget to tell Noah to take the fish and other sea creatures into the ark? When we read Genesis 6:7, there is this intriguing detail. God has decided to destroy man whom he had created. I am sorry that I have made them. It says that God is going to destroy man whom I have created from the face of the earth, man and animals and creeping things and birds of the heavens. So God is going to destroy man from the face of the earth. But notice that he does not mention the fish or any marine animals in this plan. Let's go a little deeper. Here is God in Genesis 6:17. Behold, I will bring a flood of waters upon the earth to destroy all flesh in which is the breath of life under heaven. Everything that is on the earth shall die. The earth creatures are the ones who are to perish, creatures which move in the air. Genesis 6:17. The breath of life. The dust of the earth, Genesis 3:19, the cattle and everything that creeps on the ground, Genesis 7:21. Not the fish, not the other sea creatures, not beings that breathe underwater. More water wouldn't be a problem for them. They live in water. God commanded Noah to take 2 of all species of land animals and birds into the ark, Genesis 6:19-21. Take with you 7 pairs of all clean animals, the male and his mate, and a pair of the animals that are not clean, the male and his mate, and 7 pairs of the birds of the air also, male and female, to keep their offspring alive on the face of all the earth. For in 7 days I will send rain on the earth for 40 days and 40 nights, and every living thing that I have made I will blot out from the face of the ground. And Noah did all that the Lord had commanded him. And of every living thing of all flesh, you shall bring 2 of every sort into the ark to keep them alive with you. They shall be male and female. Of fowls of every sort according to their kinds, and of beast you shall bring 2 of every sort into the ark to keep them alive. Of all the food that is eaten, you shall gather it in abundance, and let each sort be stored up where it can be kept dry. Then Noah did all that the Lord had commanded him. Fish didn't need to be saved in this way. They were out where they could survive the flood. In Genesis 7:20-23, we find the list of animals that died in the flood. The waters prevailed upon the earth mightily, and all the high mountains under the whole heaven were covered. The waters prevailed above the mountains, covering them 15 cubits deep, and all flesh died that moved on the earth, birds, livestock, beasts, all swarming creatures that swarm on the earth, and all mankind. Everything on the dry land in whose nostrils was the breath of life died. He blotted out every living thing that was on the face of the ground, man and animals and creeping things and birds of the heavens. They were blotted out from the earth. Only Noah was left, and those who were with him in the ark. No mention of fish or other marine creatures. Only after the flood does God remember Noah and all the animals, and all the beasts and all the livestock of the earth that were with the dry land. And God remembered Noah and every living thing that was with him in the ark. Genesis 8:1. But there is no mention of the fish. Perhaps because they didn't need a divine miracle to survive, they stayed alive in their usual place. The system of world classification in Hebrew, as it was understood, divided animal life into 3 groups: the marine creatures, the winged ones, and the land animals. In Genesis 1:21, we read that God created the great marine creatures and every living creature that moves with which the waters swarm, according to their kinds, and every winged bird according to its kind. And God saw that it was good. So God created the great sea creatures and every living creature that moves, with which the waters swarm, according to their kinds, and every winged bird according to its kind. And God saw that it was good. At the end of the 5th day, God created the light, the water, and the air. On the 6th day, he created the land animals. Genesis 1:24. And God said, "Let the earth bring forth living creatures according to their kinds, livestock and creeping things and beasts of the earth according to their kinds." And it was so. The land animals and the birds were the only ones destined to be rescued into the ark. for only they would be killed in the flood. We are reminded that God knows all things, even the number of hairs on our heads, and His plan is both wise and perfect. He provided for every facet of His creation. Therefore, the absence of fish in the ark is not an incidental detail, but is a testimony to the fact that God's care for the minutiae of creation is of the utmost importance, even when we can't always see why. His opening of a path of escape for those that would not enter reflects His perfect plans and His infinite understanding of all things. This should lead us to trust even more in the perfection of His plans and His infinite wisdom. Have you ever thought about Noah and the ark? You might have heard that he took just 2 of each kind of animal, but the story is more interesting than that. Genesis 7:2-3 says that God told Noah to take 7 pairs of each clean animal and 2 of each unclean animal, and 7 pairs of birds of the sky. Why? Because, he says, after this great flood there would be a special purpose for these animals. Have you ever wondered why there were clean animals? The distinction is first set out in Leviticus 11, which was codified after Noah but which he himself knew already, hence Genesis 4:4, where we see that sacrifices to God were made before the Mosaic law. If Noah didn't know which animals were suitable for sacrifice and for eating, how would he have known what to offer up to God when he made that sacrifice? Clean beasts are those that chew the cud and have split hooves. They include cows, sheep, and goats. Among the creatures of the sea, every single one that has fins and scales, e.g. cod and tilapia, are clean. Of the birds, these you may eat of all that are in the water. Whatever in the water has fins and scales, whether in the seas or in the streams, you may eat these. Doves and chickens are clean, as are certain insects, such as locusts. The unclean animals include those that do not both chew the cud and have split hooves, such as the pig and the horse, as well as creatures of the sea that do not have scales or fins, such as the lobster and the oyster, certain birds, such as the owl, and most reptiles. These dietary laws, however, were not binding in the New Testament, Colossians 2:16, and they were a practical matter. In a society without modern hygiene and food production, they were meant to help people avoid food poisoning. More spiritually, the clean-unclean division helped remind the people of Israel of their call to be holy. Noah took 7 pairs of clean animals for every kind, but only 2 of the unclean, because after the flood, he made a sacrifice to God, and God supplied all the clean animals he needed to repopulate the earth. God provided everything Noah would need, enough food for him and his family and for all the animals. God gave him every kind of animal and gathered them all on the ark. God is very particular about His creation and provides for His creatures. He also knows how to organize things. Have you ever wondered about the true story of the Nephilim? The Bible indicates that some of Satan's fallen angels did not keep their proper domain, materializing and interacting with humans in inappropriate ways. In Genesis 6:1-4, we read that when men began to multiply on the face of the earth and daughters were born to them, the sons of God saw that the daughters of men were beautiful and took wives for themselves. Then the Lord said, "My spirit shall not strive with man forever, for he is flesh. His days shall be 120 years. There were giants on the earth in those days, and also afterward, when the sons of God came into the daughters of men and they bore children to them. These were the mighty men who were of old, men of renown." At first glance, there seems to be no angelic or demonic involvement. However, Job 38:4-7 gives us more details about God's power in describing His creation. "Where were you when I laid the foundation of the earth? Tell me, if you have understanding. Who determined its measurements? Surely you know. Or who stretched the line upon it? On what were its bases sunk? Or who laid its cornerstone? When the morning stars sang together and all the sons of God shouted for joy." The morning stars are often interpreted as angels. So when the sons of God are mentioned in Genesis 6, they are understood to be angels. The Nephilim, or fallen ones, are mysterious figures described as the mighty men who were of old, men of renown. Genesis 6:4 states that the Nephilim were on the earth in those days, and also afterward when the sons of God came into the daughters of men. But why are the Nephilim mentioned alongside these unions? It is unclear, except if we understand that they resulted from these unions between spiritual beings and humans. The book of Jude gives us additional insight, suggesting that Genesis 6:1-4 refers to a marriage between spiritual beings and humans. Jude 6 speaks of angels who abandoned their proper dwelling, aligning with the narrative of Genesis. These angels left heaven to live on earth, resulting in the creation of the Nephilim. It may seem strange, but many parts of the Bible challenge our modern understanding. The truth is often stranger than fiction, and the world God created is more complex than we can imagine. These angels, seeing the daughters of men, were overcome with desire and took them as wives, producing offspring that were half angel, half human, the Nephilim. The Bible does not specify why the angels did this, but we can infer that they were evil, distorted beings. One theory suggests that they tried to corrupt the human lineage to prevent the coming of the Messiah promised in Genesis 3:15. Satan might have sent these angels to corrupt human genetics, attempting to make humanity incapable of bringing the Messiah into the world. If he could corrupt the entire human race, the Savior could not be born. He nearly succeeded. The corruption was so great that God decided to start over with Noah and his sons, imprisoning the corrupting angels. God said, "Asai, my spirit shall not strive with man forever." He would not allow the rebellion to continue indefinitely. His days shall be 120 years, a pronouncement made 120 years before the flood. God was deeply frustrated with the violation of boundaries by these angels and sent a flood to destroy the earth and these profane unions. The Nephilim were one of the reasons for the flood. Human wickedness had multiplied so greatly that God regretted creating man. In Genesis 6:4-8, we see that the Lord saw that the wickedness of man was great in the earth, and that every intention of the thoughts of his heart was only evil continually. This brought sorrow to God's heart, leading him to destroy humanity except for Noah and his family. Why did men become so violent? Perhaps it was because of the mixture of godly and ungodly lineages, or because of the union between humans and spiritual beings. It seems that fallen angels repeated this sin after the flood, but on a smaller scale. In Numbers 13:33, the Israelite spies saw giants in the land of Canaan, descendants of the ancient giants. It is possible that these Nephilim characteristics were passed through one of Noah's daughters-in-law. Eventually, the Israelites destroyed these giants during the conquest of Canaan. In the Old Testament, giants are often referred to as Rephaim. They serve as a fascinating and significant motif throughout the scriptures, highlighting the constant struggle between good and evil in biblical history. Have you ever wondered how the end times will be? Jesus gives us a clue in Luke 17:26-30, where he compares the final days to the times of Noah. Just as it was in the days of Noah, so will it be in the days of the Son of Man. They were eating and drinking and marrying and being given in marriage, until the day when Noah entered the ark, and the flood came and destroyed them all. Likewise, just as it was in the days of Lot, they were eating and drinking, buying and selling, planting and building. But on the day when Lot went out from Sodom, fire and sulfur rained from heaven and destroyed them all. So will it be on the day when the Son of Man is revealed. Jesus highlights several everyday activities: eating, drinking, marrying, buying, selling, planting, and building. None of these activities are sinful in themselves. So what was the problem? The problem was that people were so absorbed in these activities that they failed to recognize the times they were living in. They were so immersed in materialism that they lost sensitivity to the spiritual and eternal. This materialism is the last trait of the days of Noah and Lot that Jesus highlights. And what about us today? Western society, including many Christians, is deeply immersed in materialism. We are so focused on the material world that we are not ready for the return of Jesus. placing us in the same situation as the people of Noah's and Lot's days. To understand better, we need to look at the days of Noah. Genesis gives us a clear picture. Despite widespread corruption, there was something positive. Noah. Genesis 6:9 tells us, "These are the generations of Noah." Noah was a righteous man, blameless in his generation. Noah walked with God. Amidst so much wickedness, there was a man with an intimate relationship with God. God spoke to Noah, warning him of the impending judgment and instructing him to build the ark to save his family. Noah serves as an example for us today. He was warned by God about what was to come, and by faith, he obeyed and prepared. Hebrews 11:7 summarizes Noah's faith. By faith Noah, being warned by God concerning events as yet unseen, in reverent fear constructed an ark for the saving of his household. By this, he condemned the world and became an heir of the righteousness that comes by faith. So what does this mean for us? Like Noah, we are called to live in close relationship with God, attentive to his warnings, and ready to act in faith. In times of materialism and distractions, we need to keep our focus on the spiritual and the eternal. Only then will we be prepared for the day when the Son of Man is revealed. Have you ever wondered what happened in the spiritual realm when Jesus died? Imagine the scene. Jesus faced the monumental challenge of sacrificing his life for all humanity. He accepted this overwhelming mission and, after 3 hours on the cross, gave up his life. But he was not defenseless, for he had the authority to lay down his life. What happened next in the spiritual realm is fascinating. Peter, one of Jesus' first disciples, gives us a clue. Peter, who initially was unstable like a reed in the wind, became firm as a rock after Jesus' ascension. He was the leader of the apostles, often acting as a spokesperson. But what happened to Jesus' spirit after his death? Did it go to heaven or to hell? This question has generated much discussion. Peter offers us an intriguing answer in 1 Peter 3:18-21, one of the most enigmatic texts in the New Testament. He tells us that Jesus, after being put to death in the flesh, but made alive in the spirit, preached to the spirits in prison, those who were disobedient in the days of Noah, while the ark was being built. So, where was Jesus during the 3 days between his death and resurrection? It seems he descended into Hades, the realm of the dead, and preached to the imprisoned spirits there. Think about it. Jesus, even in his death, was not inactive. He was delivering his message of redemption to those in spiritual prison. This act reveals Jesus' immense power and authority, capable of reaching even the depths of Hades. Philippians 2:10 reminds us that at the name of Jesus every knee should bow in heaven and on earth and under the earth. This means that even those in Hades recognize his sovereignty. The Bible tells us that Jesus maintained his consciousness and ability to communicate even in death, engaging with the imprisoned spirits. Who were these spirits? They were the disobedient ones from the wicked generation mentioned in Genesis 6:1-5. This period before the flood was marked by extreme moral corruption, where violence and sin dominated. Imagine a world where selfishness and evil prevail, where people follow only their own desires without regard for others. In this scenario, Noah stood out as a righteous man, the only one whose lineage is highlighted with special meaning. His father, Lamech, believed that Noah would bring relief to the world. Noah lived in a time of rampant corruption, but he found favor in God's eyes. Genesis 6:9 tells us that Noah was a righteous man, blameless in his generation, and he walked with God. Despite being surrounded by a world steeped in sin, Noah maintained an intimate relationship with God. He was warned by God about the coming flood and by faith built the ark to save his family. Like Noah, we are called to live in close relationship with God, attentive to his warnings and ready to act in faith. In the final times described by Jesus in Luke 17:26-30, people will be so immersed in their daily activities that they will lose sensitivity to the spiritual. Don't let materialism distract you from the eternal. Stay vigilant and prepared, just like Noah, for the day when the Son of Man is revealed. Have you ever wondered about the relevance of faith in the face of modern challenges? Our relentless pursuit of material success and the countless distractions of contemporary life often draw us away from what truly matters. But the Bible offers us timeless lessons that are just as applicable today as they were in Noah's time. Genesis 6:22 says, "Noah did this. He did all that God commanded him." Noah is a powerful example of obedience and faith. In a corrupt and violent world, he stood out for his integrity and for following God's instructions precisely. This unwavering devotion is a model for us as we face our own modern challenges. We don't know exactly how many people lived on Earth at the time of the flood. The Bible doesn't provide details about the pre-flood population, but we know that humanity was immersed in immorality and violence. It's reasonable to assume that wars, diseases, and other natural calamities limited population growth, creating a hostile and chaotic environment. Now think about our current world. The pursuit of material success is relentless. We are constantly bombarded with messages telling us we need more money, more status, more things. Social media, advertising, and even pop culture reinforce the idea that our worth is tied to what we possess or how successful we are in others' eyes. In this context, faith can seem like an outdated or irrelevant concept, but the truth is that Christian teachings are more relevant than ever. Noah lived in a time of great corruption, but he remained faithful to God. He shows us that it is possible to live a life of faith and obedience, even when surrounded by negative influences. His story encourages us to resist the pressure, to conform to worldly standards, and to keep our focus on God. Like Noah, we are called to listen to and follow God's voice. Instead of getting carried away by distractions and materialism, we should seek a deeper and more meaningful relationship with the Creator. This means setting aside time for prayer, Bible reading, and meditation, allowing these moments to strengthen our faith and guide us in our daily decisions. Christian faith offers us a solid foundation in the midst of life's storms. When we prioritize our relationship with God, we find peace and purpose, even in a world that seems perpetually in chaos. And just as Noah built the ark to save his family, we are called to build lives that reflect God's justice and goodness, positively impacting those around us. Noah did exactly what God commanded him, and this is a call for all of us. In a world where it is easy to get lost amid the noise and demands of modern life, obedience to God brings clarity and direction. May we learn from Noah's example and find strength in our faith to face today's challenges with courage and conviction. So, I invite you to reflect. How can you apply these teachings in your life? What areas do you need to realign your priorities with God's principles? Share this message with others. Encourage them to seek a deeper relationship with God and make significant changes in their lives. Together, let's build a world where faith and obedience to God are our anchors amidst the storms. If this message touched your heart, share it with your friends and family. Let's spread the light of faith and inspire others to follow Noah's example, living with integrity and devotion to God. Today is the day to act, to draw closer to God, and to make a difference in the world around us. Amen.